Empty space isn't empty. And yes, that sounds like the kind of sentence a mad scientist whispers right before the lights flicker and a portal opens in the basement. But this time, that weird sentence is not fiction. Because according to modern physics, what we call empty space is not a dead void. It's not a clean blank page. It's more like an invisible ocean, restless, structured, alive with hidden potential. Quantum field theory describes reality in terms of fields that pervade space, with particles showing up as excitations of those fields. And if that sounds abstract, stay with me, because once you see it, you may never look at reality the same way again. The ocean metaphor. Imagine standing over a vast black ocean at night. From a distance, it looks calm, flat, silent, empty. But come closer, and you realize it is never truly still. Tiny ripples, hidden currents, pressure under the surface, motion too subtle for the eye, but real all the same. That's a useful metaphor for what physicists discovered about nothing. In older classical thinking, a vacuum sounded simple. No air, no dust, no particles, just emptiness. But quantum physics ruined that comfortable idea in the most dramatic way possible. In quantum field theory, even a vacuum still contains fields in their lowest energy state, and those fields are not perfectly inactive. Physicists describe this in terms of vacuum energy and quantum fluctuations. So the void is not a sterile box of nothingness. It's more like a stage that looks empty until you realize the orchestra is already tuning behind the curtain. And now, the rabbit hole opens. Fields first, particles second. Most people imagine matter as the basic stuff of the universe: rocks, bodies, stars, atoms, solid things. But modern physics flips that intuition upside down. Quantum field theory says the deeper layer is not particles first, it is fields first. Electrons are excitations of the electron field. Photons are excitations of the electromagnetic field. In that framework, particles are not little standalone marbles floating in emptiness. They are localized ripples, quanta of underlying fields. So, what looks like a solid object may be at a deeper level a pattern in something unseen, a vibration with attitude, a ripple with paperwork, an excitation so committed to the bit your coffee mug feels solid in your hand. And yes, this is the part where physics starts sounding suspiciously poetic. But we're not done, because then Einstein walks in. Einstein's plot twist. Einstein showed that mass and energy are not two separate kingdoms, they're deeply related. Mass-energy equivalence means mass and energy are different expressions of the same physical reality. That famous equation, E equals mc squared, became one of the most important clues in the history of science. Matter is not some totally separate category from energy. It can be understood as a form of energy. So now the picture gets even stranger. If particles are excitations of fields and matter is bound up with energy, then what we experience as solid stuff is rooted in invisible structure before it becomes visible form. Not magic, not fantasy, but yes, absolutely wild. And this is where the word unseen starts making sense. The unseen is infrastructure. This is why so many scientists, science communicators, and philosophers say the visible world rests on invisible foundations, not because they are abandoning science, but because science itself kept digging and found that the deeper layers are less like billiard balls and more like mathematics, probabilities, fields, symmetries, and hidden interactions. Take the Higgs field. One of the most important ideas in modern particle physics is that a field fills the universe and particles acquire mass through interacting with it. CERN explains that particles get their mass by interacting with the Higgs field, while the Higgs boson is a wave in that field. Read that again, slowly. A field comes first, then interaction, then the property we call mass. The unseen is not decoration. The unseen is infrastructure. Reality, at its deepest measurable level, seems to be built on what you cannot directly see. So, if you've ever felt judged by invisible forces in your life, physics would like to clarify. Sometimes you are, just not always for the reasons your aunt on WhatsApp thinks. Careful bridge: physics versus spiritual claims. Now this is where we must be careful, because some people hear all this and immediately say, see, science has proven the spirit realm. That is too strong. Physics does not prove a spiritual realm in the theological sense. Quantum fields, vacuum fluctuations, and field theory are scientific models describing measurable physical behavior. They are part of physics, not evidence that scientists have detected supernatural beings or a religious dimension. But it does open a profound philosophical doorway, because the modern scientific picture agrees with one ancient intuition. What is most fundamental is not always what is most visible. The root can be hidden while the fruit is seen. The source can be invisible while the effects are undeniable. So, if someone wants to say, philosophically or theologically, that reality may have deeper unseen layers beyond what human senses grasp, that becomes a worldview conversation, a metaphysical conversation, a spiritual conversation, and it is not irrational to notice the echo. But let's keep the lines clear. Physics says unseen fields underlie observable particles. Philosophy asks, does visible reality depend on deeper invisible principles? Faith asks, could ultimate reality include dimensions beyond material measurement? Connected conversations, not identical conversations, and wisdom lives in knowing the difference. So, what have we learned? We learned that empty space isn't empty. We learned that matter is not as self-explanatory as it looks. We learned that particles may be ripples in fields we cannot see. We learned that mass itself is tied to invisible interaction. In other words, the visible world may be the surface, the unseen may be the engine. And maybe that is why this idea hits people so deeply. Because whether you approach reality as a physicist, a philosopher, or a believer, there is something hauntingly powerful about discovering that the world you touch is not the whole story. That beneath every object, beneath every atom, beneath every solid thing you trust, there is a hidden architecture humming in silence. And from that hidden order, the visible world rises. So, the next time someone tells you, I only believe what I can see, remember this: even science says the deepest layers of reality are invisible. If you want part 2, where we explore consciousness, observation, and whether mind itself points beyond matter, drop this in the comments. Part 2, consciousness. Like, subscribe, and share this with someone who thinks empty space is just empty, because the universe may be stranger and more meaningful than it first appears.